Today we are going to see about the examination of cranial nerve. Test the sense of smell by presenting the patient with familiar non-irritating odors. First, make sure that each nostril passage is patent by compressing one side of the nose and asking the patient to sniff through the other. Then ask the patient to close both eyes. Occlude one nostril and test smell in the other with substance like coffee, soap or vanilla. Ask the patient to identify each odor. Test smell on the other side. Normally the patient perceives odors on each side and identify them correctly. To test the acuity of central vision, use a well-lit selenium eye chart. Position the patient 20 feet from the chart. Patient who wears glasses other than for reading should put them on. Ask the patient to cover one eye with a cord and to read the smallest line of print possible. Visual acuity is expressed as two numbers. The first indicates the distance of the patients from the chart, and the second, the distance at which a normal eye can read the line of the letters. Confrontation testing of visual field is a valuable screening technique for detecting of lesions in the anterior and posterior visual pathway. Static finger wiggle test. Position yourself about an arm's length away from the patient. Place your hands about 20 feet apart out of the patient's view, roughly lateral to the patient's ears. While this position, wiggle your fingers and slowly bring your moving fingers forward into the patient's center of view. Ask the patient to tell as soon as he or she see your finger movement. Facing the patient, move a 5 mm red topped pin inward from beyond the boundary of each quadrant along a line bisecting the horizontal and vertical meridian. Ask the patient when the pin first appears to be red. Inspect the size and shape of the pupils and compare one side with other. Anisocoria or difference of greater than 0.4 mm in a diameter of one pupil compared to the other. It's seen in up to 38% of healthy individuals. Test the pupillary reaction to the lights. Also check the near response, which test pupillary constrictions, convergence and accommodation of the lens. Test the extraocular movement in the 6 cardinal direction of gaze and look for loss of conjunctiva movements in any of the 6 direction which cause diplopia. Ask the patient to fix his or her vision on distant object and observe if the nystagmus increase or decrease. A slight difference in the width of the palpebral fixtures is a normal variant in approximately 1/3 of the patients. While palpating the temporal and master muscle in turn, ask the patient to firmly clench the teeth. Note the strength of muscle contraction. Ask the patient to open and move the jaw from side to side. After explaining what you plan to do, test the forehead, cheeks and chin on each side for pain sensation. The patient's eye should be closed. Use a suitable sharp object such as pin or cotton swab. You can create sharp wood splinters. To avoid transmit infection, use a new object for each patient. While testing, occasionally substitute the blunt end of the point and as a concentrating stimulus. Ask the patient to report whether each stimulus is sharp or dull and to compare sides. Test the corneal reflex. Ask the patient to look up and away from you and approach from the opposite side out of the patient's line of vision, avoiding the eyelash. Lightly touch the cornea with fine wisp of cotton. If the patient's appearance touching the conjunctiva first may be helpful. Inspect the face both at rest and during conversation with the patient. Note any asymmetry often visible in the nasolabial fold. Observe any tics or other abnormal movements. Ask the patient to raise both the eyebrows forend. Close both eyes tightly so that you can not open them. Test muscular strength by trying to open them. So both upper and lower teeth. Ask the patient to smile and also put out both cheeks. Assess the hearing with the whispered voice test. Ask the patient to repeat numbers whispered into one ear while blocking of rubbing your fingers next to the contralateral ear. If hearing loss is present, determine if the loss is conductive from impaired air through ear transmission or sensory neural. From the damage to the ocular branch of cranial nerve 8, test for air and bone conduction. Use the Raynaud test and lateralizing using the Weber test. Listen to the patient's voice. If it is hoarse or does it have a nasal quality? Ask the patient to say ha as you watch the movements of the soft plate and the pharynx. The soft plate normally rise symmetrically, the vulva remains in the midline, and each side of the patient's pharynx move medially. The slightly curved vulva, seen occasionally as a normal variation, should not be taken for a vulva deviated by a lesion of cranial nerve 9 or 10. Warn the patients that you are going to test the gag reflex. This reflex consists of the elevation of the tongue and soft plate and constriction of the pharyngeal muscles. Stimulate the back of the throat lightly on each side in turn and observe gag reflex. This reflex is disseminated in many normal healthy people. Standing behind the patient, look for atrophy in the trapezius muscle and compare one side with the other. Ask the patient to shrug both shoulder upward against your hand. Note the strength and contraction of the trapezius. Ask the patient to turn his or her head to each side against your hand. Observe the contraction of the opposite sternocleidomastoid muscles and note the force of the movement against your hand. Listen to the articulation of the patient's words. This depends on cranial nerve 5, 7, 9 and 10 as well as the 12. Inspect the patient's tongue as it lies on the floor of the mouth. Look for any atrophy or fasciculation. Some horizontal restless movements are normal. Ask the patient to move the tongue from each side and note the symmetry of the movement. Ask the patient to push the tongue against the inside of each cheek in turns as you palpate externally for strength.